Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me, Astrologer Patrick Arundell. This is the latest in my deep dive videos. This one is about the Aries new moon, which occurs on the 24th of March at 9:28 GMT. And this gives us an opportunity, being in the sign of Aries, to initiate, to begin. So it's really exciting energy. So what I wanted to do is give you a structure of how I'm going to present the video. So obviously I can talk to begin with the general benefits that we have from a new moon. But what I also want to talk about is what the chart for that event actually shows us, the natal chart. I think a lot of the presentations that are done on the new and the full moon pretty well do focus on that event. Yes, we can keep saying that an Aries new moon is about initiation, a Libra new moon is about relating, we could say a Capricorn new moon is about progress, status, and all the rest of it. These are things that I think largely you probably do know. So what I wanted to do was dive a little bit deeper than that to find out what this particular new moon for this year is saying to us about where we are as a group of people, if you like, in relation to our experiences at the moment, and also the opportunities, but in also the challenges that can come our way. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I would be grateful if you stayed with me to the end, because really at the end of this video we'll be coming through very strongly with the possibilities, the upsides, because there are some challenges on this new moon. I'd also like to say that because I was poorly for 5 years, even though I've been doing YouTube for about 10 years, because I was poorly, I wasn't able to invest as much time and energy into YouTube, and I have actually got a little bit behind. So if you would be kind enough to subscribe to my channel, whether you're a new visitor or a regular visitor, I would be very grateful, because that does send a signal to YouTube, because my videos generally don't get shared that much, despite the lovely comments I get. So if I look at my stats, it's YouTube that doesn't share them. So any help from you, comments, interaction with me, which I love, I do answer all interaction, it's very welcome indeed. So thank you for that. Also, just briefly, underneath this video, you can subscribe to my monthly magazine and also regular email updates, where I plot planetary movements and events to keep you updated to exactly what's going on. You can also get your free daily horoscope within that. So that's just underneath this video if you want to subscribe to that too. So here we are on the 24th of March, 9:28 AM in London, 4 degrees. And of course the sun just moved on the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, into the sign of Aries. We have the beginning of the Western tropical astrological year, which is exciting in itself. This does point to new energy. And there are some opportunities for sure here for healing. Because if we look at Chiron, the wounded healer, the comet, it's actually in conjunction with the sun and the moon. Now, a conjunction is where two planets, or in this case an asteroid, are pretty well side by side, so there's a 1 degree gap between Chiron and the sun, and that increases their connection. So the healing energies of Chiron can be used in conjunction with the initiating energies of the new moon in Aries, which sees the sun, obviously loves being in Aries, especially the first 10 degrees of Aries, because this is ruled by Mars, so this is about action. And we've got the moon there as well, which is about how we are receptive to others, our environment, our emotions, our interactions with people. So this gathering of energy gives us a sense of hope, because I think what Chiron can do is bring in new ideas, new strategies, new ways that particularly we can target COVID-19 and the coronavirus situation, which is obviously of great concern. But we just need to be aware that on this particular new moon chart, that Mercury, the planet of communication, despite all these influences being in the 11th house, which is about the collective, well, Mercury's still in the part of our horoscopes to do with our interaction in a more worldly, earthy sense, but it's not happy in the sign of Pisces. It's in detriment. And because of the retrograde it went through, by the time Mercury had inverted into Aquarius and then emerged on the 16th of March back into Pisces, it was back down to 0 degrees Pisces. So it was at the same point as when it entered Pisces on the 3rd of February. So until the 29th of this month, when Mercury comes out of shadow, I still think there's going to be some sludgy thinking. So we've seen some governments have acted very swiftly, some have been much more lackadaisical in their response to the situation, some have been much more authoritative. But I think Mercury in Pisces has generally created a sense of confusion around how to communicate a containment of what a condition is that is so Neptunian, it's unbelievable, because Neptune is about gases, it's about the imperceptible. You can't see coronavirus, COVID-13 in the air, can we? But it is something that jumps from person to person. It's infectious, it's very Neptunian, it's wet. And the conditions for this have all been thriving due to this big energy in Pisces, but especially Mercury, I feel, because it's been affecting travel. So as people have travelled, so they've taken the disease with them. And I think the thing to look forward to beyond this particular new moon period, which of course is a backdrop of a month, is that on the 11th of April, Mercury moves into Aries and will also soon go conjunct Chiron too. So that gives us more hope that new initiatives will be coming through, and the thinking will be more fired up by the cardinal energy of Aries, which is about taking things on, being more aggressive. And that can be a good thing because Mercury still here is a kind of bogged down energy, I feel, even though it is actually forging a very positive angle with Uranus in Taurus. Now, the other thing that obviously is massive that's going on is that we've got this big collective of energy in the sign of Capricorn, and Mars and Pluto together does point towards a degree of the potential for more forceful actions. Jupiter's in its detriment in Capricorn, which is why I think the stock market has taken a bit of a hit. And, you know, it's to do with oil, it's to do with aviation fuel, it's to do with gasoline, and those are all things affected by Jupiter around travel. What a surprise. Jupiter also influences international affairs. So the last time we had the crash in 2008, Jupiter and Pluto were conjunct. There you go, conjunct again. But Mars is a bit of a worry, if I'm honest, because Mars and Pluto together is the kind of action that we've seen in Idlib in Syria. Very forceful, ruthless action where nation states are trying to grab control. And obviously Turkey has come into that situation as well. So the combination between Mars and Pluto can create real hotspots, especially in the sign of Capricorn, because that's about dominance and it's about wider powers. So power is good. We all have power if we use our power wisely and fairly. So if you're in a situation where you encounter someone who's trying to force you around a bit, stand your ground, but equally be conscious of your own motivations around your own power. But I think on the world stage, particularly with Jupiter linking to Pluto and Mars, we're going to see some activities which may not be particularly nice. Now also, Mars is in a quincunx with the ascendant on this particular chart. So if an astrologer does their chart in Los Angeles or Australia or India, it's going to be a bit different to this one, of course. But on my chart, the ascendant is Gemini, which is about chat, it's about communicating. And we do obviously need to communicate more in order to deal with this situation. But Mars being in a quincunx with the ascendant is not great. It's like we're chatting, but are we actually listening? Is there more force than there is receptiveness to the message? I think that's something else that's going to be there. But then the main challenge on this particular new moon actually comes from the Sun and the Moon in Aries squaring with the North Node, which is inversing, reversing backwards, and by the 5th of May it's going to enter the sign of Gemini, where it will be for a year and a half. So what does this mean? Well, the Sun in Aries is very much about passion, because the first 10 degrees, of course, are governed by Mars. The second dward of the sign is actually, so the next from 2.5 degrees to 5 degrees, is actually governed by a kind of Taurus energy. So a certain amount of determination, drive, and proactiveness around groups. So there's going to be new orders, new initiatives, new instructions coming down. That's happened in Italy, it's happened in China. It could happen on a wider basis. But if we think that the North Node is about our emotions, it's about the more sensitive parts of our natures, it's about the emotional direction of travel that we're all pulled towards. And in the sign of Cancer, it doesn't get much more emotional than that. So we got the two cardinal signs, the Aries and the Cancer, competing against each other. So this is about initiative. Let's get things done. We've got to act quickly. There's a sense of urgency and force. But here we've got the more emotional side of it. So I think, we all may have to adapt to different ways of living our lives. And that may obviously be quite restrictive for some people who happen, just through sheer ill luck, to be located in a hotspot or close to someone who has travelled to one of these hotspots. And so I do feel that there could be some constraint or impact on the emotional lives of us citizens. But the upside, this is the wonderful part of this opportunity, does come from the chance to innovate. Innovation, of course, is governed by Uranus. Uranus at the moment is in Taurus, but that Taurus location is squaring up the newly arrived Saturn in Aquarius. It's only just gone in there, as you can see, moved on the 22nd. It's going to be there through to the 1st of July before returning to Aquarius on the 17th of December, where it will be for the following 2.25 years. So Saturn Aquarius is about how things affect us collectively. We've had all this Capricornian energy going on since, particularly it started in 2008 with Pluto moving into Capricorn. So it's been, for me, a real polarization going on between the more material side of Capricorn. And please remember that every zodiac sign has its up and down side. So when I talk about Capricorn, I'm not talking about sun sign members. Sun sign members have their own choice to exist in their life in the optimum way of that sign or the more negative spectrum of that sign. All of us. So for example, I'm an Aquarius. I could exist in a very detached, unfeeling, cold, calculating, rather idealistic, but not very warm or caring way, or I can exist in the exalted form of Aquarius, which is very much getting the best out of myself, doing my best for others, not being so focused on myself as an individual, more about what I can do to help, but obviously still retaining the truth of my own individuality. So please don't be offended that I'm talking about Capricorn if you're a Capricorn. So this Capricorn energy is the potential, especially with Mars and Pluto in conjunction, and having had Saturn and Pluto in conjunction, to withhold things to suit the power that's being used negatively through the prism of Capricorn. Now, if it's used positively, it provides us with cohesion, with structure, with organization, with routine, with discipline, with reliability, with consideration for others because of all of the above. So every zodiac sign has its up and down side. So this location of Saturn in Aquarius gives us a chance to collectively come together, or to resist that, to say, no, we're going to stay, I'm going to do what I want, I'm an individual. If I want to buy 30 multi-buys of toilet tissues, I'm going to do it. Whereas we could just think, look, I'll just get the one, because if everyone just gets the one, there's plenty of toilet paper for everyone, plenty of hand wash, plenty of sanitizers. So we're going to see the worst and the best of person kind with Saturn in Aquarius. It's not going to be just one end of the spectrum. And then on the other side here, on the quarter there, we've got the square, 90 degrees, we've got Uranus, which is not at its best in Taurus, because obviously Uranus is in its full in Taurus, because it's exalted in Scorpio. They're both fixed signs. They both like to change when it suits them. So I think the changes that we're going to have to make may be ones that some people will be resistant to. But the upside that I was going on to say is that this energy in Aries can be about new ways of thinking about things. And whatever species exists on Earth, it either evolves or it dies out. And there's an awful lot of human beings, and an awful lot of smart human beings, that are going to be working flat out to try and find ways to combat this situation. And of course, there are also going to be people who want to capitalise on it financially. And that's why we've seen people selling off shares in the stock market, rather than thinking, look, if everyone stays stable, then that gives us a much greater chance to get through this. So we're repeating some of the mistakes we've made in the past. So personkind needs to develop the collective will of Aquarius in a way which is good for all of us, but be open to new ways through Uranus of changing the status quo, so the foundations, and that of course is Taurus. So this energy is about initiation. So I think we can see new ideas coming in, new approaches, fresh ideas, and I think by the 11th of April we will see a potential for a collective bounce back, because as Mercury moves to its conjunction with Chiron, that gives us all an opportunity to think, well, look, we've got to fight back. Yes, not react to the panic, be cautious, be careful, change the way we do things, wash our hands more carefully, and so on. But at the same time, keep fighting, because that's what human beings generally do. And we've just got to be aware that there's some flexibility that we have to show in terms of our personal existences, around our emotional existences, which self-isolation. And therefore, this particular new moon, I feel, with Chiron in the picture, does offer some awesome opportunities for improvements and healing, but it does still have some tricky influences that we just need to be mindful of. So I hope that has laid it out for you okay. Please, as I said, share, comments, and see beneath this video to subscribe to my monthly magazine, daily free horoscope. Or if you'd like a one-to-one consultation with me, it would be an absolute honour. Or you can order your 12-month personal horoscope forecast, character analysis as well, 30% off. But for now, good luck and goodbye.